So machine learning, AI, deep learning, Gaussian networks, neural networks, all these buzzwords are things you're going to hear today. You have probably heard some of it, and you will hear a lot about it elsewhere as well. Of course, H&M Group, we're on this as well, especially in my team, the Advanced Analytics and AI team. We're working on this constantly. We have billions of data points that ensure us to actually address this area at the magnitude that we do. H&M Group is right now building a world-class AI engine to address the whole value chain. But today, we're not going to talk about that at all. Today, we're going to actually talk about something else, something more important. We're going to talk about our planet and how we're going to utilize AI to have a more sustainable planet.
So I think all of us know that we live in times of rapid change, and it's really difficult to foresee the future, what's going to happen in the next 5 years, let alone what's going to happen in the next 10 to 12 years. But there are a few things that we do know, and I think one of the most important one, the UN tells us that by 2030 we're going to be 8.5 billion people on this planet. Now, continue to have prosperous and healthy and well-developed communities, we need to make sure that all of those people, or the adults at least, will have jobs and access to livelihoods. And for 2030, the world needs to produce another 600 million new jobs, and that's not taking into account the jobs that will be lost due to the technological transformations that we are seeing. Now, this is, of course, great news for the fashion industry because it means that 8.5 billion people will, in one way or another, need clothes in the future. But given how we're using resources today, this is also the biggest challenge. So if we continue to use it as we do, we will need 2 planets by 2030, and we all know that that is not possible. So the mission that we have, not just us, but the whole fashion industry, is to solve this equation. How we can continue to provide great and fantastic fashion, to continue to create jobs along the value chain, but doing so in a way that the planet can afford. And we believe that the solution to get there is through a circular system where AI will be one of the most empowered and important tools.
So I was in a similar thing happening in MIT just before Christmas. And somebody asked me, so how do you pick AI projects at H&M Group? And we said, well, there are no H&M AI Group AI projects. What we do is that we're actually looking at a business project, a business challenge, and we're empowering our decision-making by utilizing AI and advanced analytics. So for us, AI is not artificial intelligence, it's amplified intelligence. We're amplifying the business they already know. We're making ourselves much more sharper and being much more sharp in our decision-making. It's the combination of the human and the machine, the art and science, the logic and the empathy, and the data and the gut feeling. Utilizing AI, we can actually have a powerful engine to be more sustainable in our way of working.
So I'm not going to repeat too much about what a circular economy is. I think that Amanda did a fantastic introduction to that. And I mean, the way that we see it, just put simply, is that, I mean, with the circular economy moving from the linear one that we have today, it means that old products can be turned into new products again without adding any additional resources. And that is how we see that we can continue to provide and enjoy fashion, and doing so within the planetary boundaries. Now, for the H&M Group, we have set a really bold ambition, and that is to become 100% circular. And just as Amanda was showing in her chart, that goes all the way from how products are being designed, the materials that go into them, how they're used for and cared for by the customers, and ultimately, how they're being brought back into the system. Now, this is, of course, a huge scope, and I'm going to be honest and say that we don't have all the answers yet on how we're going to get there. But we have set some important goals along the way as a start. And the first one is that by 2030, we only want to have recycled or sustainably sourced materials in all our brands. Today, we are at 35%, and just like many other companies, we're making huge investments into innovations and technologies very similar to the ones that Amanda just showed. Now, the second big goal that we have set, since any circular economy needs to be powered by renewable energy, is to have a climate-positive value chain by 2040, meaning that we will reduce more emissions than what the value chain emits.
So AI is a critical enabler in this, and we're going to actually tell about how we live doing this, and we're going to exemplify this by utilizing trousers. But circularity is ultimately about utilizing our resources in the right way, and going from a supply-driven business to a demand-driven business. And how do you do that? Of course, that will entail, first of all, that we have maybe less products, but also we have less unsold products. And doing it is to approaching it in a scientific way and looking at the data and utilizing that to maybe start forecasting things and helping our decision-making in the design process. So give me another example in that. So we had a test that we did, and we are very in a prototype level on that one, that we help some designers look at some data backwards and see that we can see trends in the data that we have. And then we saw some curves that we created, and these curves actually could show on certain products that the product was actually declining in demand. The designer said, oh my God, if I had this chart back then, it would have helped me a lot, because I saw this declining from my gut feeling. But my buyer was looking at the data and was looking around the sales data and what's happening around ourselves in the industry and say, everybody's buying this product, we should buy it as well. We bought that product, but when the product hit the market, it was already saturated. Like everybody else, we were sitting there with unsold products. So if we would have provided that tool to the designer back then she would have the data to make her decision much more sharper and be able to actually provide right data and right decision at that point and not buying that specific product and not impacting the environment.
So in that sense, AI can really help us to know exactly what we should buy and how much we should buy it. Of course, the next big question is, so where should those products be produced? And the H&M Group today, we collaborate with around 1,900 suppliers across 20 production markets. Now, all those markets are unique in terms of the capabilities, but also in terms of sustainability conditions. Now, this is still early days, but we very much believe that with the help of advanced analytics, we will be able to very much optimize the production of each one of the products, making sure that they are produced at the right market, at the right time, with as little negative impact on the environment as possible. Of course, as you've also seen today, we know that manufacturing will look probably very different tomorrow. And I think as you heard also previously, we know that some parts of this industry will become automated. Some parts will most likely always need a human touch. And no matter how that plays out, we know that that will have an impact on how and where products are made and also by whom. Now, I think historically, the textile industry has been a fantastic driver for growth and for job creation. And I think it's still too early to tell exactly what a job within textile manufacturing will look like in the future. But I think that we in the whole industry, of course, has a huge responsibility, but also an opportunity to make sure that this transition that is needed happens in a responsible way that continue to create opportunities for people to have a good and a fair job across our whole value chain.
So, H&M Group has over 4,700 stores in 69 markets, where 43 are e-com markets. So that makes it imperative to be able to know exactly what products should be in what store at what time. And that is much impacting on the both transport and the warehousing, and hence also the environment. Another example on that, we're trying things out in one of our stores in Fältöversten in Stockholm, where we look at the store and then we saw, let's look at the data behind the store. Let's look at the people that are living around that store, the catchment area, and maybe see that we can create a perfect neighborhood store. Looking at the data, both online and offline, we started to be able to rebuild the store in a way that was actually providing the customer the right product. These right products doesn't even have to mean more products, but actually less product. But it was the right product because we were actually looking at the demand of the customer, both on online and offline perspective. The result was that we increased selling both on the online and the offline side. And that shows us how powerful this tool is for us.
So now these pair of trousers are with our customers. And I think this is the most exciting part in a product's life, because this is when the trousers get to go out dancing. This is also the part that is most hidden to us as fashion retailers. We know a lot about these products all the way up to the point of sale, but what happens after that? How are these trousers taken care of? How much are they being used? How much are they washed? Too little or too much? And these questions are all really important from a sustainability perspective, because the customer has a huge impact also when it comes to environmental issues. Looking only at climate, 20% of the climate impact of a product happens with the customer, and the customer is taking care of it. So being a fashion retailer, we have a great opportunity and responsibility to make sure that we can encourage the customers to use the products in a more sustainable way. One of the most important things there is how we utilize the wardrobe. So looking into the wardrobes that we have today, the vast majority of the clothes still remain unused. And this is, of course, a huge waste of resources. Now, we believe that with the help of AI in the future, we will be able to have much more sophisticated wardrobe management systems that enable us to take care of the clothes in a much better way. Through, for example, guidance on garment care, how we can have matching abilities that really optimize the wardrobe, and also how the trousers or the clothes in the wardrobe, when they if not used anymore, can be given a new life. And I think this is actually the most important things when it comes to circular economy, how we can make sure that the products and the materials are kept in the system and utilized at all time. So today in Sweden, every person throws away around 8 kilos of clothes every year. And I think that's a big irony of things, that at the same time as we have very scarce resources, we have all those fantastically fine resources which are seen as waste and not as input. And that's one of the reasons why we set up a global garment collecting program a couple of years ago with the aim to make sure that no fashion ends up as waste. Now, up until today, we have collected around 57,000 tons of garments all around the world, which have been given a new life either through reuse and recycling. And this is, of course, a first step, but to really have a fully circular system, we need to do a lot more than that. And there are still a lot of limitations, not least when it comes to technology. One of the biggest challenges that we face is that we can't really do fiber-to-fiber recycling due to that we have a lot of blended materials. And here we believe that we need to have much better and more sophisticated recycling technologies, but also much better solutions for how to sort garment and products and materials. Now, today the sorting is done very much manually, but we believe that with the help of AI, we'll be able to have an automated sorting in the future. Now, if you combine that with recycling technologies, very much similar to the ones that Amanda talked about today, we will have a whole new opportunity to scale a circular economy, all the way from sorting material to separating the fibers and ultimately recycling old fiber into new fiber again, making sure that we don't lose any quality along the way. So that means that if we go back to the trousers that we have, they will be brought back into the system once they're no longer in use and turned into something else, like, for example, a T-shirt.
So no doubt AI and AA will help us to be more powerful and be more aggressive when we're addressing the works in sustainability and circular economy. But there are, of course, challenges, and we need to acknowledge that as well. There are challenges by utilizing the data, and the data is coming from our customer. And it's imperative for us to have a respect of that data we provided by the customer. Be transparent, have integrity, and be respectful how we utilize the data. The data should be utilized to help the customer to have a better customer journey, have a better products, but also to ensure that our planet has a better future.
So just as much as sustainability will depend on AI, AI will also depend on sustainability. We know that the effectiveness of AI lie in the goals it is set to achieve, and we need to make sure that those goals are also aligned with the goal to have a sustainable fashion future. Now, this is, of course, the next big thing for us as an industry. I think it's the biggest challenge, but also the biggest opportunity that we are facing today. And no company or no brand will be able to tackle that on our own. We need to work together. And even though AI is something that's highly competitive, when it comes to the people and the planet and the future, we need to collaborate to make sure that we're all winners.
Thank you.